everyone. My name is Heather Messegee-Dawson. I am the art director on Covet Fashion, and I am so excited to be here with you all today for this new online experience of the Creative Workshop. And I would love to introduce all of the other team members that are here today, including our amazing marketing team, Amanda, like you just saw, Chelsea, and Jane. And special shout out to Jane, who organized this amazing event. We're also here with some of our incredible artists from Covet, Rick, Gung, Dylan, Mimi, and Emma. All right, so let's start with a behind-the-scenes look with how art direction begins on Covet Fashion. There's two different processes that we're actually going to be looking at today for how we generate this type of direction for the game. And the first one is for our season launches. So this is the mood board that I put together for our latest summer launch. For each launch, we start with a team brainstorm where we come up with a theme. And as many of you know, this summer's theme was Escape to Hidden Worlds. And after we do that, I then sit down, and the way that I start this is I ask myself a series of questions. So I'll ask myself standard things like, what kind of trends are we seeing on the fashion runways this season? What are types of trends that we're seeing in the world right now? And I'll also ask myself questions to help visualize the theme itself. Like, how can we visualize escape? How can we create relatable but fantastical hidden worlds for our players? And how will our players travel to these hidden worlds? And through these series of questions, I create keywords and ideas that then become my guide for doing research for collecting all these images. And for every mood board, I normally collect about 1,000 images, and then I refine it down to what you see here. And then from there, we're able to create our visual motifs that we then can use across all of our, yep, exactly, there they are, across all of our artwork. And these were the 6 visual motifs for summer. They were contrasts of warm and cool, portals like beams of light and tunnels and circular shapes, shimmer and glittering effects, epic romanticism, dreamy surrealism, and 1800s to early 1900s design. And they all had a foundation of the sky, ocean, and earth realms. So what we do is we mix all those together to create the final assets that you see here. And these are just a few that were done. And you can see how these motifs are used across all of our launch pieces, all the way from our app store, where you see the shimmering effects and the romantic lighting, to our loading screen, which is very much tied to that. And then you see our first portal here with the top look screen. And you also see that same type of color palette and lighting in our events, as well as our fashion packs. So all of these assets actually started from a place of just a series of questions. And now I'm going to hand it over to Rick, who's going to talk about our process for how we create art direction through story. Rick?
Thank you very much, Heather. That was really cool. Yeah, so another thing that goes into how we develop the art for Covet is story. And everything starts with a good story, and that also includes art and fashion. A strong narrative foundation is key to engage with your audience and establish a clear path forward for the thing that you're are making. And as far as fashion goes, and like the garments that we're creating, you know, that tells who that person is that's wearing that garment, where they come from, and what their actual intentions are. So I try to, when designing our artwork, think like a writer, act like a designer, you know, when it comes to props, garments, or anything else that goes into Covet Fashion. And this will tell you who your character are. In this case, who's your avatar? What is the story behind your avatar? And how can that come through in your outfit? So with this set of props that we launched with summer, the elemental goddesses, we first started with an abstract idea of elemental tools and powers. And to clear the path forward, we had to ask a lot of different questions about the story that was related to it. And we wanted to tell a story that had to do with strength, that had to do with growth, and associate that with summer. So trying to answer those questions before us, that led us to some research into mythology and about how the elements of antiquity were actually developed and how they were understood. And that was like a key moment in us in our path forward to these props and the story that we could tell with them. And there was one line that I picked up in my research that went, the attribution of the soul to natural phenomenon is the key building blocks of elemental powers. And that kind of sparked an idea in my head that gave us the concept of utilizing strong feminine forms in the items, that idea of elemental power and natural phenomenons, and putting them into a form as visual and as strong as the female form. So looking close at these props that you might have seen, we tried to incorporate that story and different types of goddesses from mythology into each one so that they had sort of an inner power. And that's how our story was kind of born for the elemental goddesses. And suddenly all the pieces started to fall into place. As you might have read already, or it's kind of seen in some of the props and everything that's going on in the game, this story of elemental powers passed down by these venerated deities to a chosen avatar, your avatar, will help usher in our summer season. So ask the right questions, don't give up, think like a writer, act like a designer, and story will lead you to a great art outcome. And there they are, or at least two of them. The aura and the bow are two of our props that you can find in the game. And if you can notice that it is incorporating the goddess motif in both of them. Thank you.